It's like a poem, and it's beautiful. I want you. I really want. Do you want me? As strongly as I want you. And so when wanting is thwarted and things happen, then anger arises. Even hatred can arise quickly. So that's attachment. So many teachings, spiritual teachings, speak of the importance of non-attachment. But it's not really possible to practice non-attachment in the absence of sensing the presence. If you cannot sense the transcendent dimension of who you are, and you cannot sense yourself as the presence, you may do your best to practice non-attachment, but it's almost impossible. And then you will end up getting attached to your practice of non-attachment. And feel unhappy because you don't quite manage it. In the same way, loving your neighbor as yourself, your neighbor being anybody you happen to be with, not your next door neighbor. That's people have tried to practice that because they were taught to do that, but it's been a struggle, and most people have failed unless presence arose within. They connected with that transcendent dimension within, stillness, awareness. And then there was a natural outflow of loving kindness. And that's loving your neighbor as yourself, because as you look at another and listen to another, you can sense that what you share, what is one, your oneness is consciousness. The essence of the other also is consciousness. It's the same consciousness that you are. And that is seeing your neighbor as yourself, and seeing your neighbor as yourself is valuing and appreciating him or her as yourself, and that is loving your neighbor as yourself. And since the teachings of Jesus have come to us as fragments, there was nobody there who was taking things down in shorthand when he was talking, and there were no recorders. So we had to rely on people's memories and effective understandings also. So I'm sure that Jesus didn't quite say, you must love your neighbor as yourself, because he would have known that that's impossible unless you find the kingdom of heaven that is within you. He always talked about that.
Which is changing. Which is changing. I want you to be able to drop everything that you were ever taught. We told you before the difficulty here. You might want to, but it's almost a betrayal of those who taught it to you. And whether it's a loving parent, or whether it's a friend or a teacher or school, you have to be willing to drop everything that was ever taught. And the reasoning, yet again, it was fine for the time. It was integrity when it was taught. Now, you're about to engage a new planet. You have to be any of the baggage of the knowledge what you think is right, wrong, true, false, because that is going to be upended as you move forward into a paradigm of light. Dear ones, literally, the teaching, the learning, everything you have experienced so far has been in a dark room. You couldn't even see each other. You had to feel what was going on. And you came to certain conclusions based upon feeling what was going on. You couldn't even see one another. And now you walk into the light where you're learning coherence. You're learning to link with your hearts. You're learning things that didn't exist then, new tools you can't carry. What you learned in the dark into the light, it won't work. The tools themselves will get in the way. That's tough. But oh soul, I can tell that so many people are missing it and analyzing. When it's done, there'll be a willingness to step into a new life. Feeling what was going on. You couldn't even see one another. And now you walk into the light where you're learning coherence. You're learning to link with your hearts. You're learning things that didn't exist then, new tools you can't carry. What you learned in the dark into the light, it won't work. The tools themselves will get in the way. That's tough. But oh soul, I can tell that so many people are missing it and analyzing. When it's done,
can be